What did I ever do to me? That's gonna be the title of my autobiography one day, because I always make everything so hard on myself. I got the opportunity at long last to play a solo on Jared's Shred Collab, but I couldn't make it easy on myself, could I? No! I had to go ham. So in this video, I'm gonna show you not just how to play the solo that I wrote, but also my thinking behind why I wrote all of the parts the way that I did. If you wanna follow along, there is tab at the link in the description below for free, so go ahead and download that. You can pause the video and then download it and come back. So I based this solo around a couple small motifs. If you really pay attention, you can hear them come back throughout. And because I'm a masochist, I played the whole thing on a telly, my amazing Kiesel Retro Solo. The backing track for this is in the key of E minor at 175 BPM. Although all of the chords in the backing track are diatonic to the key of E minor, if it's gonna be my solo and I get the chance to write it however I want, it's gonna have a lot of spicy notes sprinkled in. And so, true to form, I opened with some very spicy notes. Little kind of gypsy jazz, circling a chord tone with chromatic notes. Sinister Gates from Avenged Sevenfold will do this kind of thing a lot. I like to play very expressively, and one of my favorite things to do is this like wild slidey thing. You kind of just go to the frets on either side of the one that you're on, and then a little melodic bit. Then I use a little snippet of a scale that I use in a couple different places on this solo. I can never remember what they're called. It's one of the Japanese pentatonic scales. And it ends with this little thing that's kind of a version of the first thing that we did. And then I sort of sequence that same idea down a step in the scale. And then I kind of go ham on that Japanese scale. And it's a moment in the solo when I wanted to heat things up a little bit. And then I round off the first half of the solo with this little melodic motif that's gonna come back at the very end. Which I just think sounds heroic and epic and awesome. And then we're pretty much right back to the first lick that we started on with a very small twist and an octave higher. Same thing as before, but it's just a rhythmic variation of that very first lick, which kind of hangs out on the first note. This one just goes so that I can get to the mosquito. To make the slow notes of this interesting, I slid around a lot. Here's where I push the harmony pretty hard. It's kind of crazy. So I'm actually implying a chord that does not exist in the key at all. What I wanted was this sound, but the easiest way to play it here was actually like this. The backing track was doing a lot of this. So I am, for reasons I cannot fathom, aside from that I just followed my ear, implying a G minor triad after this chromatic bit. Takes a little bit of practice, but as long as you really use your ear and trust it and try a bunch of different stuff, you can get away with a lot. So here we're back to E minor. And then an incredibly spicy thing. Although it's not actually all that cool of a lick, the mode that I used sounds crazy. And then a huge leap to probably the hardest lick of the whole solo. Why did I think that this was a good idea? This is insanity. This is actually like an E diminished. Playing off the flat 5 in a spicy way. It's not actually putting an E diminished on top of E minor. That would be crazy. It's actually more like a sharp 11 because it still has the natural 5th in there. And then I basically just move that top shape down a half step and play it with different fingers. And end it off with an easy chromatic run that's alternate picked. Honestly, more than anything else, using chromatic notes makes it easier to play because then you can take something that was a 3-note per string scale and make it 4 notes per string. That way you can do like nice even 4 picks per string with alternate picking, and it sounds cooler. And then another little chromatic thing. We walked down. Now we're gonna walk up. 2 difficult sweep arpeggios. They're kind of complex chord-wise. They're not all that hard to play exactly, and the pattern that I worked them into is something that I do a lot that sounds really cool, but is actually the easiest way to play sweep arpeggios, which is to go down one and up the next, or the other way around. But in this case, we're going down, so I go, and then I slide into the next one. If I took a second, I could figure out what the names of these sweep arpeggios are, but they're just cool sounding, crazy ones that I use in my course, which is called Exotic Sweep Arpeggios. You can find a link to that in the description if you like. It's one of those ones that's actually easier to play faster than it is to play slow. That's kind of true of most sweep arpeggios, though. And then, you remember the lick that we ended the first half of the solo with, right? Well, guess what? Remember I said it was gonna come back. This is where it comes back here at the end. Once again, an octave higher. With some sort of stopped picks. I don't really know what this technique is called. Where you basically pick it and mute it. I think that really puts like a button on the notes when you want to, you know, get some attention. What am I doing? What is this? When you really want to command somebody's attention, listen to this! And then end it off with this heroic, triumphant little epic thing. I approach writing a solo the same way that I think about writing a song, except that it's sort of a microcosm. It still has like a beginning, a middle, and an end. We're still building to a climax, using melodic motifs and developing them. And then I just sprinkle in a lot of pizzazz. I like playing fast stuff, not because it's impressive. If I wanted to impress people, I'd practice a lot more. I like to play stuff like that because it sounds exciting to me. Fast passages at the right points throughout a solo, just to kick up the energy. It's just intense. This might be the first solo that I have written in years in which I don't do any two-handed tapping at all. By the time I got most of the way through it, I was like, huh, usually by this point I would have at least done one or two little whoop, whoop. I was like, I'm just not gonna do any this time. I do it too much, it's a little bit of a crutch. But it also gives my picking hand a little bit of a break. There is not really much in the way of breaks in this solo. I made it hard on myself. It was worth it for 24 seconds of glory. If you've made it this far in the video, it probably means that you wanted to learn how to play this solo. It's really hard, it's hard for me to play. You might be able to do it better than me, so if you actually record it, please tag me when you put it up. I wanna see it so bad. Huge thanks to Jared for letting me be in his Shred collab this year. It's so exciting, this was so much fun to do. If you wanna learn how to play every single 3-note per string scale on the guitar in just 60 minutes, I have got the course for you. It's called Relationshapes, and you can find more about that at the link in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, happy shredding, and I'll see you real soon.